What is it that drives you to get out of bed in the morning and take over the world? Welcome, friends. I'm your host, Vox Calidus, and this is the second installment of my series on how to be a classic supervillain. In this video, I'll be talking about the motivations of those in our particular occupation, and perhaps helping you figure out your own. Let's get started, shall we? Now, almost every villain fights to acquire wealth, power, influence, or all the above. One might assume that is where our ambition ends, but there you'd be mistaken. These are merely the most useful tools available to allow us to pursue what we really want. However, what that is will depend on the villain. Once again, let's start with Star Wars. Darth Vader is one of the most famous villains of all time, and his fall to evil is probably the most well-known and well-documented. In The Revenge of the Sith, Anakin Skywalker betrays the Jedi Order in order to gain more power. But why does he seek that power? As Yoda predicted, it is because he is afraid. Over a period of decades, Darth Sidious manipulated Anakin's emotions and tormented him with dreams of losing those he cared about. It was his fear of losing his wife and unborn child that drove him to seek power above all else, first and foremost. I want to clarify something here. One could say that Anakin was driven by love for his family, but I would argue that this is false. Sure, the end results would be the same, but if he really wanted to do this purely for her sake, he would have talked to her about it, and then they would be able to plan out together whatever they might need to do in order to bring about a better future. To be honest with their emotions, to communicate. Something that you rarely see in these epic tales because actually talking about your problems can do wonders to resolve conflicts. Instead, fear pushed him to flee from the future in the path of least resistance, right into Palpatine's clutches. Fear, then, was the drive, the motivation of Anakin Skywalker. Fear that the Council would never recognize his value, fear for the lives of his loved ones, and, as we all know from Jedi Master Yoda, fear leads to anger, anger to hate, and hate to suffering. Such was the destiny of Darth Vader, until his son brought about his redemption. Fear is a powerful motivator. You might be afraid that you won't be good enough, afraid that you won't be accepted or acknowledged, afraid that you don't know what the future will bring. And so you are driven to seek power in any form in order to alleviate that fear. This desire to fulfill a need or a desire for yourself is the primary drive of most supervillains. Of course, it is by no means the only one. Some villains actually do what they do, entirely for the sake of others, or so they believe. For this example, let's take a look at Thanos, specifically as he is portrayed in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. In the film Infinity War, Thanos tells us that his world was destroyed from conflicts that arose over a lack of resources. But if they had agreed to simply kill off half the planet's population, all of their problems would have been solved. We'll put aside whether or not that was a good idea at all, or even if it would work. Instead, we'll focus on his motivation. It sounds like he genuinely wanted to work for the benefit of the universe at large, to provide a utopia for the people across the galaxies, so that all may grow up in a world where they would never need to worry about fighting over land or resources, and so the universe could be at peace. And yet, despite having theoretically good motivations, all the heroes do everything in their power to stop him. You see, Thanos' plan leaves no room for negotiation, for compromises. He's not going to debate the right choice of action with the heroes. He's not going to show mercy to the half of the universe he wants to eradicate. He's going to change the universe by force, firmly believing in his actions. He's a villain who, in theory, just wants to help people. Funny, isn't it? But of course, that's the thing about trying to save the world yourself. Even if you do exactly what you want to do and make the world a perfect place, from your point of view. Not everyone will agree with your actions. Not only will they not thank you, but most of the world will probably do everything they can to undo whatever you have done. Just like the Avengers do in Endgame. So the question is, how do you change the world without having everything you fought for instantly unravel at the first major setback? The answer is simpler than you might think. You must remove the opportunity for your defeat. When a hero defeats a villain, their schemes are undone, their empire falls, and their progress is destroyed. All the world needs to do to stop you is just to defeat you and all of your goons in combat. And sooner or later, some hero will be successful. But unlike a single villain, it is much, much more difficult to defeat a concept. To quote the Joker from the Dark Knight film, "It's not about the money, it's about sending a message." No villain embodies the idea of becoming a concept, a message, than the Joker. He works to throw the citizens of Gotham City into chaos and madness, all to prove one simple statement: that everyone, including Batman, is just as crazy as he is. The Joker wants to prove that everything in life, when you really think about it, is absurd. It's ridiculous. You cannot control your own life in any way that matters, and the circumstances around you are at the whims of mere chance. Nothing has any real significance, and so the only choice left to you is to embrace the chaos that the Joker brings, to accept that the world is crazy, and so are you. In his words, the only difference between you and me is one bad day. That is his message, the point he tries to prove to Batman again and again and again. Now remember, the Joker is only human. He doesn't have super strength like Bane, or even the incredible wealth of Lex Luthor. And yet, he is one of DC's most dangerous and most legendary villains because of the sheer influence he has. Many times, Batman can drop him with a single punch, and yet he torments Batman, arguably more than any other member of his rogues gallery. Like Batman himself, the Joker exists beyond himself as a concept, and you can't punch a concept. In some stories, even after the Joker is missing or dead, Batman still has to deal with those who agree with the madman and accepted his viewpoint. The Joker may be gone in those stories, but he hasn't been defeated. Not yet. As long as his words still echo in Batman's head, as long as the people of Gotham can be influenced by the perspective he showed them, as long as you question your own sanity, the Joker wins. These are the three most common types of villain motivations. The first are those trying to fulfill their own desires, like Doofenshmirtz or Megamind, who spend their time trying to earn recognition, to be noticed and acknowledged. Then there are those trying to help others, like Magneto, who is willing to do anything necessary to make sure that everyone born a mutant has a free world to live in. And lastly, there are those who have a message they want the rest of the world to hear, like Hero Killer Stain, who wanted to prove what a hero should really be. So then, all you prospective new villains out there, which one are you? Is there something that you've always wanted? Or someone you've seen being mistreated and you want to help? Is there something you wish everyone on Earth would understand, that everyone would know? Don't worry, you don't need to pick one. I, myself, have worked with all these motivations at different times, for different reasons. The next time you feel a strong desire to change the world, take a second to figure out why. Who knows? You might learn something about yourself. Well, that's all for this video. Feel free to subscribe to my channel, and we hope to see you around next time. Farewell.